welcome to today's session on advertising for sales. It's myself and Kaiser here today.
Kul att se att det är så många som har hittat hit. Vi antar att det beror på att det är ett högaktuellt ämne. Det är i alla fall ett ämne som vi får väldigt mycket frågor om i alla de kontakter som vi har med småföretagare, vilket ju är ganska många per vecka. Som ni säkert upptäckt så pratar jag svenska. Jag finns på ett företag som heter Digital Scorecard för er som inte har träffat mig tidigare. Yes.
Yvonne, you don't do anything. Good. Okay, good. I thought I had the same problem as before. Cool.
Är det så att huvuddelen av det här webbinariet kommer att vara på engelska, men bara så att alla vet, skriv om ni har frågor eller liknande, så är det naturligtvis att bara göra det på svenska, så kommer vi att plocka upp det efterhand.
As an alumni session, I think we know most people. I know we've some that we mightn't, but I think the majority we know here, so we don't have to do any big introductions. And we let the content speak for itself as we go through this. This is our focus today, and looking at why some fail, what to advertise, platforms to use, what to measure. And as we go through it, we'll pepper it with examples of our experience. I actually started, as many of you know, my digital travels, or whatever we want to call them, in the advertising world, and going from print and TV to online search, primarily actually search and Google. So that's where it started, and since then things have changed dramatically. As a background to that, I've managed our own ads for years in multiple countries and have done that for others as well. But I've stopped managing them, and we tend to work with agencies now who buy the ads, because some of the platforms are just getting tricky and you need to have expertise just on those. But one of the biggest failings, and we're going to go through that today, is it's not about spending the money, and that tends to be what the agencies do. It's about how do you set yourself up that when you do spend something, it's useful as a result, and that's where we focus on. I know Kaiser has a lot of experience on buying these services from agencies, so if any questions related to that, we'll come through that as well. It's a tricky subject. We will not fix it in an hour. That'd be over-promising, but what we can do is give you a better appreciation for online advertising, help avoid some of the pitfalls, and for you to decide what do you need in place to do this, so as you become a better buyer of digital. The ads are pretty much stacked against you, so our role here today is to try and help stack them the other way, that you're better prepared for it. And this is the reality from a survey that we did during, it was June, we released the results of this one. This was of 200 odd Swedish small to medium-sized companies. The vast majority are not happy, or advertising is not working for them. Only 14% of those advertising were happy with it. This is a really interesting one. It works, but not sure if it pays off. And this is often the case. So when you advertise, you sell more and you get more in, and you can see the sales going up, but you're not quite sure, are we just covering our ad spend? Are we actually growing the business? Is it artificial or is it real? That's often the case. And we come across a lot of people are not really happy. Unfortunately, we come across a lot of people also who come to us and say, we've just spent 30,000 on an ad campaign, and honestly, looking at it, we'd say, yeah, that can't work because there's some fundamentals that should be in place. And some of those we'll cover today. The biggest misconception is that advertising is about ad spend, and it's not. It used to be. So when I started, it was a lot easier. You know, ads to a landing page, get people to buy. It was all very simple. It's not that way anymore. because it's got very competitive. Everyone wants to do it. It got very noisy, getting a bit messy, getting complicated. So we need to break that down and understand how it fits for us. So you have the ads part, you have the landing page or web page, you have what's the call to action, how are you going to get people to do what you want? What is that? You have a thank you page, you have a welcome mail, you have an email sequence, you have a follow-up, which hopefully leads to a buy. So when you're looking at advertising, we need to take into account the whole picture, because that's success. That drives sales. If we only look at the ad part, you'll tend to not sure what works. You'll tend not to be overly happy. The whole picture is what matters. And this is what we're going to go through today. And this is kind of what we work with. We do have an offer at the end to help you with some of this, but we'll outline why and how you and what you can do about this. Now, the ads are stacked against you. Some of you may have seen me recommend this book before, Ad Scam by Bob Hoffman. Even just following Bob on LinkedIn, you will get an understanding what's going on with the ad platforms. And it's not a pretty sight. Let's put it that way. It's the reality. That's probably what I'm going to come to here. There's lots of noise there. We can all bang on the drum and say, you know what, Bob, he's right. No one should advertise. But then what do you do? So it's kind of the elephant in the room that we need to deal with. But let's understand that they're not our friends. And that's the second part to this. So the first part is, what is the picture you're trying to do? It's not just about ad spend. Second part is, these ad platforms are not your friends. They will take your money in as much as they possibly can. And that's a big change. When I started out, I had meetings in Google. I had meetings in Facebook at the time. And they were quite welcome, and you're quite open, and you go into the offices and all that kind of stuff. They were keen on our success. Now, we were spending a lot, but still they were keen. Now, I would say significantly less so. And I can see it by some of the practices, some of the ad fraud. It's shocking stuff when you see it. We do ad tracking and we do scanning, and we can see it. To 20-30% is just pure waste. But that's nothing you can do about. Therefore, we just have to move on. Deal with the elephant in the room. Right? Agencies, and this is a point I'll come to, I find they're too keen on pleasing the ad platforms and less keen on pleasing their clients. So they spend a lot of time on talking about how they're a gold partner or a silver partner or whatever kind of partner they are with Meta and Google and all of that, and too little time on understanding the client base. So this is something we need to start with. We need to, the easiest way to be successful here is to realize nobody will make this work except you. You're responsible to help the agency do a good job, not the other way around. Nobody else understands your clients better than you. So you can't hand this over to them and say, there you go, get me traffic that buys. It doesn't work like that. So that's a misconception. It's often the root cause of so many misunderstandings with ads. The other thing that's happening, and this is a little bit of a backdrop, and this is going to get worse, significantly worse. So this is one example from last week. I was actually in Sweden at the time, and this ad popped up on Facebook. I'm not a big Facebook user. I don't actually use it. I use it for advertising. But I still have to go on the platform every now and again because I'm setting up advertisements or something like that. This caught my eye. So here's a sponsored post or ad, right? I'm thinking, okay, she's well known in Ireland. This would be like, guys, you can get a reference point. Somebody who's doing all the breakfast TV, for example. So somebody that everybody pretty much knows. And you see that ad and think, okay, is it clickbait or what? Right? And then here, another one. You'll see these in Sweden as well. So you click it, and you'll see this, because I'd heard about some of the scams going on, and I'll finish this off in a second. So you get to this one. And this is Virgin Media TV. They're a large TV company here in Ireland, and they have a breakfast thing. And there's a whole article about crypto and fake articles and videos showing one of the presenters talking to the other presenter and basically calling them a liar and saying, no, they're not right, making it very real. So she demonstrates it and she shows the thing. Again, it's all fake. And then shows a bank account. Now, anyone in Ireland would know this is fake, but it's getting pretty good. It's getting better, but as soon as you've seen that one, you think, yeah, definitely, because nobody lives in 101 Grafton Street. For one, and the actual formatting is just off. But it's getting better. Now, the reason I'm flagging this is the reality we're going to be facing. You're going to get more and more fake ads. Meta, in their wisdom last week, most of you will have heard it, may not see the significance of it, but it's very significant. Free speech is going to pave the way, which means people are pretty much free to lie. And that line is becoming blurred, equally with advertising. So there's going to be an awful lot of noise. How do you step out of that? How are you not also going to be seen as fake? So there's going to be even more demands on us here. It's going to be more people spending money because these scams make money. They have nothing to deliver, no cost of product. It's an ad game. So this is the world we're in when we look at advertising, and it's going to get much worse. So being authentic matters. Sweden has a little bit of an advantage here with Swedish. However, that's pretty much diminishing now because a lot of the AI engines are pretty good. You can't tell the difference. So it's another thing to bear in mind. I've covered this with the agencies. Which team are they on? And that's something to have in your mind when you're talking to them. Make sure they're on your team. And I would actually, part of this is remind them. You're watching them and you're on my team. You're not on Meta's team or Google's team. Because we need to win traffic that buys from us, because that'll mean you continue. Sometimes saying it can be enough, because a lot of them aren't aware of it. They're in this advertising agency bubble, which is a very different bubble than the one we occupy. So things we need to decide on here. If to advertise at all is something I'll put in here, and with a couple of slides about that. A lot of companies should not advertise, even though they're thinking of it or doing it. It is a complete waste of money. And we'll go through a little bit of that today. But let's say you are advertising. Where to advertise is often a question. What's your target? What action do you want them to take? Which is basically what to advertise. We all want sales. And the temptation is to say, just buy this product. But if your client base aren't there, they won't. They might need a step or two in between. So we need to understand that. And here's the key piece. What's the importance to the client? That's what you're selling in. So it's just like a sales gig. Advertising is no magic bullet. It's a sales gig to get people to take steps as we go along the way. What really matters with this? If you're talking to an agency, they'll all talk to you just about the creative. They will say, we need video, we need images. This is what you need. You need to understand what's important to the client. The rest becomes easy. Agencies might also continue to ask you for more creatives, put all the pressure and emphasis on you. It's not necessary. So understanding this game is really important. We have ads running now for 3 years, have not changed, and are still getting people in, day out. That's now in Sweden. I did the exact same thing in Germany, UK, Italy, Turkey, Norway. They ran for I don't know how many years. Same ad. Just works. There's research out. If any of you follow me on LinkedIn, you will see I made a comment on somebody's post yesterday, I think it was. Research out that actually confirms that you do not change the ads. There's no need. Obviously, you need to get the message right. You need to get this picture right. Pretty much. Then it gets easier. This one is another thing to understand. It's called the intent matrix, and I put this together, and it's a rough rule, a rough guide more than anything else, because you see mismatches. You see someone trying to sell a product when actually they shouldn't. They should be getting people to put their hand up and ask questions about it. You see others actually being too timid and inviting people to ask questions when they should be just selling the thing. That's why I put in this intent matrix, which is basically interest and intent. Intent means your willingness to do something. It's either high or low. Same as interest. I'm interested in something. It's either high or low. So I've got a low intent, which means I'm not going to take an action, but I'm really interested. Facebook groups come to mind here. We've all been on them. We've all tried to advertise them. We've all tried to sell to them. There can be a tough crowd. It's not that they're not interested. This is what sucks you in. But a lot of them have no intent of buying. And you have willingness and ability you need here. So those groups I tend to avoid. The ones with high intent and high interest, they're the ones you want. That's what the money is. So I'm really interested in what you do, and I've got an intent. I'm going to do something about it myself. That's what we all want. They are more like your 3% rule. You've heard me talk about this before, the 97 and 3. 90% of your target market are not interested right now. 3% are likely to buy, 7% are interested but not buying. So you have this. I see, the article. I actually will, if you connect with me as a LinkedIn user here, if you connect with me, I will ping it across to you. I need to find it. I think it's Dale or Dave or somebody who's really good at this stuff in terms of the advertising research. Just a question to come in. I'll ping it across to you this afternoon. You have the low intent and low interest. So I'm not interested in what you're doing today, and I have no intention of buying anything. They're still your target market. This is always your target market. We don't look outside of that. And then you have the other group. High intent, low interest. This is usually more commodity stuff. I'm buying, but I don't care. Don't really care who you are. I'm not that interested in it. It's not that significant to me, but I'm buying it. It's the most suspect of the groups, to be honest with you. But in a matrix, you have to have a matrix, otherwise it's not a matrix. What you're really trying to do is that, in most cases. Those that don't have an interest, can we convince them? And you can. This is why we say we focus a lot on the 7. This is mine. Most people say a 90 and a 5 rule. I actually don't believe it's as black and white as that. I think there's a lot interested. There's a lot. Most are not interested. There's a lot interested, and then there's a lot buying. That's the phase most people go through in most sectors. And this is the actions I'd be taking. I'd be very wary of the top left. Use it for fodder. Get some content maybe. Sales growth is in the top right, and you'll cultivate your top left. And those on the bottom right, you just take the sale. They're not interested in a relationship. It's often one-offs. It's often more insignificant. But understanding this, if you think about it now, if you want somebody to take an action, what do you put in front of them if they're in the different groups? It's different. What's reasonable is different in each group. So that's why we have that in the back of our mind all the time, you know. I do this one, and it's a rough guide, and I have a huge caveat because there's a couple of industries that I would break all these rules with. And this is why context really matters. But as a rough guide, in terms of interest and intent, you have social media are somewhat interested in discovering a topic or discovering you. They're not that intent in doing something. You're breaking their pattern. They're scrolling. Oh, that's interesting. Then they might dive in, right? But they're not scrolling there to say, I'm buying something. Otherwise, they go and search, which is another part. Search is much more over here. I'm looking actively for something, and it's either on your brand search, which is the absolute best, or it could be a topic-based search. So buying from your competitor. They're not interested in you, but they are on your competitor, or keywords. Keyword search is also up here. I'm looking actively for something. So you can see the difference. Display tends to be closer to social. But if we're bringing in some retargeting there, especially with Performance Max or Advantage Plus, then display can also be quite active. Rediscovering you, I have that in here. So you begin to get a picture for the media. Now, there's one big caveat I have here, and that is the level of pain of your client. If they have something very serious that they want addressed, that's always on their mind, the platform matters less, and they discovering you is what really matters, and understanding that. So you can actually make sales directly from social easily. In fact, we have one case right now where the sales on social is better than the sales on search. We're still trying to validate the whys of that, but the pain is high. Their need is high. And that kind of can destroy this matrix. But they're the exception rather than the rule. But you can, if you do the right things, take somebody from being not that interested in you to high intent pretty quickly. And that's a time factor. What you do dictates the speed, the pain or the challenge the person has, and the significance of it in their life also dictates the time factor. So the two elements here. This is how we work with together. This is how advertising can work very well for you when it's done much more holistically with the ads, the landing page, understanding the clients, the calls to action, and the follow-up. It's all those pieces that make it successful. Paid channels, there are loads of them. Search on different platforms, and I'm now including AI in that platform. They are now relevant. I think Perplexity has a good lead there, but in terms of how it does it. But that's going to change as well. But lots more people are searching on AI. We're finding that as a referral now in many instances. So if that means nothing to you, just go to your analytics and see where is your traffic coming from that buys. You'll begin to find a few coming through AI now already. We've seen that with purchase intent at the moment. The really important one is brand name search. That's if you're known. And then you've got keywords or problems, like that you're speaking to certain symptoms. Display, it's more or less disruption, but retargeting is less about disruption and more about positioning and branding, getting to know you. This is where Performance Max and Advantage Plus again works. It works all the way through. You know, we'd often put a sales funnel on this. Right? I think I might have one a bit later. The new advertising options works all the way along the funnel. It doesn't care where you are in it. It knows you're interested in this topic, so it actually puts ads in front of you. Whereas in the old way, you'd have specific campaigns, and we still do in many cases. But this is the fundamental difference as to where AI is coming in. Content, that can also be a very good disruptor or retargeting. It is important because it helps people understand that you understand their challenge in their world. So that's quite important. Email. I love email. As anyone knows, it's one of the other areas we work a lot with. So advertising and email, the two big things that we fit into a business design. And with email, and this is primarily B2B, actually it is via buying code email, but you can also sponsor email to consumers. It is a very good channel to get direct action. In B2B, I think it's a must. Our events like this one, the reason everyone's here is because of email. So it works. Social, it's a bit more disruption. I tend to put it more with display, but you can be fairly targeted, and there's loads of options with that. Affiliate networks is another way of advertising. I love affiliates. I actually got into that in Germany of all places. And the beauty about that is you're paying for results. And that is another game changer. So for every client they would bring me, I would pay them. There is a bit of a setup fee, but that's a dream for consumer businesses. It is not simple though. So if I don't have my other advertising working, it's very hard to get it working. That's what I tend to find. So something it needs to be working, and that will then scale your advertising even more. For B2Bs, I don't particularly like the affiliate stuff because it means you don't really understand your clients. Somebody's bringing clients to you. It's like getting a cold calling agency to just bring people to you. It's a bit random, and it's less about marketing system and more about timing. Influencers, that's another one I really like, especially micro influencers. I think that's where the opportunity is. A lot of micro influencers will work for very little. So you can get 3 posts maybe for $600 type of thing. If they're in your target market, it can be some of the best money you can spend. Not macro. For small companies, macro is a waste of time. Actually, I'd almost argue for everyone, but then they become a spokesperson. So it's a different type rather than just influencer. And it's just too expensive.
Edward, there's a question here that came in from Gunnel to explain a little bit around what's Performance Max.
Yeah. So we can take another hour and go into that. It is the simplest answer to that would be you've two, Advantage Plus and your Performance Max from Google and from Facebook, and they're pretty much tell us your target market, give me some creatives, give me landing page or website to look at, and we'll find people who will take the action you want us to take. So you define the action, so which could be a purchase, it could be a sign up. And I have a few slides later a little bit about this. It fundamentally means you're saying, and you set them a target, and you can set CPA targets, cost per acquisition targets. It fundamentally means you're trusting them to find customers for you. Now, what's interesting with them is it works the whole funnel. So you could have one campaign to your website. Part of me hates it because you lose control. Google is getting a little better. They don't give you the search terms. So on Performance Max and search, you don't know what's working. They're getting a little bit more open now about it, but it's still a little bit of a black box. The beauty about it is it means for a small business owner, it's something you can do yourself. The downside is you don't know what's going on inside the black box in a way. So that's the two sides of it. It is the future. There's no question it's the future, because why would I be manually changing ads and updating all the time, which makes no sense? It should find it for me. But fundamentally, we're trusting them. And if anyone was into this a couple of weeks back, they would have realized Facebook effectively hiked prices by 20%. They can do this more easily when they have systems like this in place. That's the concern I have. It's not a simple bidding anymore. So there's ups and downs with it, but it is the future when you're setting up campaigns. There is a lot to it, though. So I'm actually in the middle of a conversation on entering a new market with a consumer company, and what's the approach? And we'll have fundamentally different starting points. And then you work your way to find the setup. It is not simple. The simple answer is, I just set it up and it'll be okay. It's not, because the approach really matters. Sending traffic just to a site that's ill prepared for it doesn't bode well for success. I like hyper targeting. So if you've got something specific, that's what I want my Performance Max campaign to focus on. I don't like this. Here's my website. Here's my ad creatives. Every customer, is worth 100 euros to me. Find customers, please. I don't like that. It's too broad, too vague, too open to lack of success. So I'd like to narrow those down into what exactly problem we're solving. But herein lies the difficulty. So how you solve that is often have one big generic Performance Max campaign and then have multiple smaller campaigns that feed into it. So you're still using the same success criteria. So then I go with my specific brand campaign. Actually, brand I take completely one side. Brand-based advertising is totally different. That's like shooting ducks in a barrel. People looking for you, they'll find you. You do a specific campaign and take them aside. Anyone who is advertising today should really understand the difference between brand and keyword advertising and everything else. Too many think they're successful by getting customers to buy based on their brand. That is a failure in many senses of other systems. because I want nobody searching for the brand in a sense, because they should already be coming to us with direct traffic. They should be clicking the links from the email. They should be clicking our social to get to us rather than us paying for them again. So I don't want to go too much of a sidetrack because that gets very detailed, and it's a whole section just on the whys and wherefores of setting up a campaign, actually, which is not easy in terms of getting that right. Okay, conversion rates. We often get questions about this. This is a slightly older slide, but I'll just show you. Here's conversion rates of traffic. This is actuals. 22. Yeah, I have actually had ones for today. Do I have them here? That's even older. So here's a 15% conversion rate, 9%, 20%, 10%, 67% conversion rate, right? Where did that one come in? Another one, 54% conversion rate. It's all to do with the traffic. People who know us, that are interested in something, convert faster. What I find is email traffic, that's the big numbers here, 54, 63. There are people signing up from email into a new event. They've been at one before, into a new event. The 15, 10, 9%, they're Facebook traffic. And that's good numbers. I'm delighted when I hit those numbers because it means we're getting enough people signing up. But you get campaigns where you get nothing. Performance Max, Advantage Plus campaigns, you can wait 2 months to get results. So for us, for event-based stuff that we do, tricky. So conversion numbers on their own are not really where it's at. Web pages and landing pages, which do you go for? A web page is basically regular pages you have on your website that people can navigate. That's the most important piece. They can navigate to and from. They can do what they wish. They're in control. A landing page is the opposite. It's a specific role, and I do not want them to navigate. Basically, they take the action or they bounce. Is pretty much what I force on a landing page. And that for a very simple reason. And short answer, Rado, would be no. We've tried lots, and there's one guy we know well, and actually Gunnel knows well. That's Albin, but he's busy. So, is there an agency solution out there? No, there isn't. What we're trying to do today, and in some of this conversation, is to get you to be able to work with many different types. Are there overall good ones out there? I would say no. And I come to some of the options you might have as we go through this, because we can't be just sort of negative here. So where are you advertising? Is it pretty much in the top or the bottom? What are you advertising for? So it could be to get a request. It could be you then follow up and then they buy. Or it could be that you're saying, I'm doing advertisement just to buy. What's measured here is time. And what drives it is pain. That's it. Someone with high pain will buy quickly. You don't need to faff about with a lot of stuff here. What we do in many cases is we'll have an event, and that's where we then do a promotion. So even with consumer companies, it works really well. So you slow it down by saying there's a time until an event from there to here. And then at the event, they buy. So you have lots of different options here. The choice is what's going to suit, what's going to work for us, what's going to work for the client. Also think about alternatives before you jump into it. There's lots of alternatives. An enormous number of B2B companies should not advertise. Direct outreach is the way to go, which basically means the grunt work. And how do you do that? You just check how many clients do you actually need. Just do a double check. So sometimes we jump so much into we need to scale and reach people. But if you think about it, how many clients do you need? Is it 10 new ones a month? Is it 20? Consumer ones is often higher. But B2B in particular go down the wrong route here. So it's a matter of working out what are the options. this is really, it's not simple. To do it right, it takes work, but it's not hard. Influencers can be easier, but you need to manage them. They're not just going to give you traffic and clients. You really have to manage them. And you need to tell them how much you're going to pay. You need to tell them this is what you want. So in other words, if you're doing a micro influencer, you want at least 3 videos from them. And you're going to say, I'm going to pay you $600 for that, or 6,000 crowns, or whatever it happens to be. You don't go the other way and saying, okay, how many videos will you give me and how much are they going to cost? Then you're a sucker. Whereas you have to drive this. And the numbers I gave you there now with 3 for about 6,000 are reasonable for a lot of micros. If you have your system in place. So your content looks decent. Or you're looking to just get user-generated content from them. That can work as well. So we need to manage it, you know. Affiliates are great, pay for results. But if you can't make your advertising work yourself, or even close, the chances are the affiliate program won't work, because you're probably not putting the right product in front of people at the right time. And you kind of, I find, need to know a little bit how to do it yourself or get close to it, so then the affiliate will be successful. Because they have to succeed, or they'll drop you, because they're only making it if you make it. This is what I like about it, but it's, again, doesn't just happen. So this is what we need to have in place. Advertising is much more about scaling. So customers, where they are, pains, how are we going to engage them? Is the follow-up working? Are we getting reviews? The more social proof and recommendations we have on our landing pages and our advertising, the more likely we are to get a result. Again, it just makes common sense. If you have overwhelming evidence, it works. So advertising is not something that happens on the side. It's actually just feeding into the top of our business.
Edward, I just want to jump in there in terms of just as using copy recommendations to be able to say that 95% of our customers recommend us. That's really good use of that type of information.
Exactly. That's why we do the verified surveys. So it's not just you saying it, we actually do surveys for clients, which enables them to then say, 85% of our clients would recommend us, and this is why. Or this is the results they got. It's also a really good way. It reminded me of something that's not in these slides. That's actually I was thinking about this morning. Reference points. This product has been. We found this product to be better than the competing product because, or 9 people who tried product X think this one's better. There's a lot of research on this that it will have a huge impact on the likelihood to take an action. Again, it makes sense. It's other people are saying this, people tend to follow. And now, this is why I put the fake one in first. So will you be believed? Are you genuine, authentic in what you do? Are you consistent? This is what begins to matter more then. So you begin to stack things in your own favor. What to advertise? This is where too little time is spent. People go off and start getting creatives and images and all that kind of stuff. No, decide here first. What do we want people to do? What do we think it's reasonable? So you have to think only from their side, not from yours. What's the receiver of our ideal client likely to do first? Or if it's mid-funnel, or if it's people you know, then you have a second or third. Pick your mechanism. Decide this is what we want to do. If we don't know it, this is what A/B tests come in. Let's try a few things. All of these work if you do them right. But if we half-ass them, of course they can't. This is the balance we need to have. I like all of these. This is interesting. The one I like most is not here. I really like webinars. Obviously, we do this a lot, and it's not on the list. I really like surveys and quizzes. Gunnel, who's here, uses a survey for years, and it's fantastic. It gets people in. It does other things. It tells us what they're thinking, which means we can meet them where they are. More likely to be a fit, you know. One of the things I really don't like is newsletters. To advertise, join my newsletter. Nobody cares. There's only a few people can get away with this. If you're a really good writer, but then you still won't call it your newsletter. You'll name it based on the benefit they're going to get. And if you want good ones like that, actually Ben Settle, he's the best at this. Even if, he has his own ways of working. One of the better newsletters there is. Go to Medium. Anyone who uses that platform, you'll find lots there. Good examples. Most people here are not in that business. We're in the business of selling some stuff, you know, some products, services that people want. So therefore, we need to aim at that. One of the best campaigns we ever had was offering people 500. Actually, it's not. Is it here either? It's not here either. Jesus, I need to update this one. Which was a prize draw, a free prize draw. 500 euros off your new kitchen. It's only a value to those who are interested in that. This is a really important piece. And it costs us very little. Another one we ran free iPhone, actually, as a competition. And the difficulty with that is you need to relate that to the product. And that's the problem I have with it. Whereas and everyone wants it, you'll fill a list with that. But what will they buy afterwards? For most companies, it's a waste of time. That's why we go with the ones related to the product you want to sell, because it filters your audience at the same time. So rough guide, the greater the pain, focus more on sales now. The less the pain, you focus more on education, lead generation, and bringing them to the purchase. Again, rough guide. You can do both in most businesses, but if people haven't got an urgent sense of urgency or pain, it can be a bit harder. Now, also remember, at any one time in your market, it's probably 3 to 5% are buying now. So you can still get them, but it's hard to grow just on that. It means you're static. So we need alignment, and this is where things fall apart. If we're thinking in silos, that the ad agency is doing one thing, a creative creating just some images, and you're just thinking there, well, actually, I'm not quite sure what we're going to promote. You need this aligned with the target, what's reasonable to ask them, the advertising, the landing page, and the action. That alignment is vital. That's success or failure. Every time, actually. And all you're doing is really joining the conversation going on in their head and aligning with how they buy. So it's not necessarily straight for the sale. Sometimes it is. I'm really surprised with one case at the moment, and that's what we are trying to get our heads around, where the direct sale is working better than the lead gen, but the pain level is reasonably high. So we're thinking that's what drives it more. Therefore, it's the ideal, right? If people buy now, it's even better than if they buy later. Then that drives what you should advertise. And that has to be valuable to your customer. That's the key to it. So we need to measure what matters. And this is where I fall out with most agencies. I am not interested in views, likes, not even clicks. What you really want to be measuring is what is the cost of a customer? How many have you got in? Conversion rates, cost per clicks, not so much. Lifetime value matters. Cash flow matters. And you're trying to drive these costs in that order. Too many, and if you look at if any of you advertise on Facebook today or any other Meta products, it is extraordinary when you look at their interface. They will show you all kinds of statistics except the ones that matter most. The ones that matter most, you need to change the interface and say, show me these, which is conversions and cost, because that's what matters. Views, clicks, doesn't matter. Frequency, well, a little bit, but not so much. all the focus on that. Anyone who's been to a larger agency will see all the presentations coming out will be fantastic. It looks brilliant, but they miss the basic detail. And these are the basic detail. How much does it cost? How much does a customer cost me? What's the lifetime value? And we need to be finding those numbers out, because this will then drive this. The higher it is, which means a whole business system we need to have in place. What not to measure: reach, views, clicks, click-throughs. They're all distractions. When you're doing this, there's your choices. It's not easy. We don't manage ads anymore. We actually advise companies when they're buying their ads. So there's your choices to do. And it's not easy. None of them are good. Doing it yourself, it's easier, it's cheaper, but you need to spend time on it. And too often it comes in at the end, and we don't have time for it. This is our saving grace. If only their platforms interfaces get easier to use. I'm convinced they make them hard to use because it keeps jobs for agencies and other people. I'm convinced of it, because you couldn't design them the way they do if you had any user, anyone looking at the user experience. It's horrible today. But if they get better and Advantage Plus and Performance Max begin to work even better, then doing it yourself is a real option. Specialists, like I was going to mention, Alvin is a specialist on Google and Facebook in particular. You manage based on goals. They tend to need more management than an agency, because they tend to be very good at getting ads, doing ads. Agencies can take a bit more of a bigger perspective, but they tend to cost quite a bit. So you need to be very clear what you want. You need to manage them, not them manage you. They will always try and twist it around and say, just send us these creatives and give us these pages, and they'll try and drive the bus. You need to, because it's your business. They're bringing one piece, and that conversation is quite important. Startup fees, I would question them. What are you really getting? And move them over to a fixed budget as soon as you can. Now, there's a balance here, depending on how much you want them to do and how engaged they are. I wouldn't be all these fancy offices, all these fancy presentations. You're paying for that, so I wouldn't be impressed by it. I'd rather the person who's got no office and they're just doing a pretty good job, because they usually cost less. Yeah, well, I'm in this business a long time, Matt, and I cannot say that that they perform better, because I've seen both. I've seen a lot not performing well, and it all depends on how you set it up and what you set up, and how much time you put into it, and all of that sort of stuff. It will in the future. So I wouldn't be investing in a regular old agency that just places ads. No. So I am expecting Advantage Plus and Performance Max to knock it out of the park eventually. There's other big issues there, though, like trust. And then you have other platforms to use, because I would move off other platforms. So when you get something working in one place, you then grow on others. There's a whole range of things to do beyond, let's say, Meta and Facebook, Meta and Google, where there's more interesting things happening that we can look at. Staff changes is always an issue, happens everywhere. And then this, you can be, and I've been in these meetings where it's fantastic presentations and everything looks brilliant, but they're not presenting you anything about your business. So in your gut, you know that there's something not right here. So get the focus on clients, cost of clients, and the revenue from them. Things to consider: trusting them. It is the future. Are they there yet? No. Role of retargeting. This is where there's a difference. Performance Max and Advantage Plus actually takes care of it, or should. Again, it industry specific, depends exactly what we're doing. Frequency caps, 12 is a max. Actually, that's way too high, but I know depends on the platforms. Reviews of budgets is important. And then you have this one. Where do you put the focus? And this changes, and best practice changes quite a lot. But a rough guide was newly started companies, you need to focus a bit more on your brand and what you do, and a little bit less on just buy now. Whereas in established ones, I would do a little bit the other way around. Now, again, case specific. We have a couple of cases right now that is just buy now, brand not known. And it works because if it's solving an exact problem for a client, of course it should work. So the key with the ad in that case is that people can see that you do solve their problem. And the other key is that you're getting in front of the right people. And that's what then works. So context really matters. Video matters. The value of the action to us, that's what we need. How much is it worth? How much is the client worth? When I started this stuff, I had spreadsheets continuously updating to find out how much is the client costing me and how much are they worth to me. And we were doing weekly billing with subscriptions and all that kind of stuff. And it's not easy to work it out, but that's where kind of the money is, matching that, to know I can spend more to get a client. Even actually, I was chatting with Alvin last week about one particular case, and he was saying, yeah, we need to talk to Google about it because best practice changes. And some of the AI success and otherwise is changing. What's the approach? So we need to look at that as well without getting, I suppose, too confused. So take control. When I say hope, well, not hope, it's basically somebody called hope, and you need that person and not be relying on it, because relying on it, it doesn't work. You will lose, and we see it all the time. Being a better buyer, I know you work quite a bit with this, Kaisa, as means to get to success. Because getting an agency on board is one thing, getting them to do the stuff you want them to do is another. And that's just my command.
Yeah, and I think here there's a lot of a lot of responsibility also on us as business owners to that we have our plan ready before we have a meeting and start the discussion with an agency. Who is our customers? What do we know about our customers? The more we can tell them and the better we can work together. Then we can use my speciality. I know my business. I know my customers. I know the pains my customers have, and then be using the skills that the agency have. And when we get that to match, that's when we will get somewhere.
And the keep it simple, stupid is a good guide as well to have, because we can overcomplicate things within it. Is right. This is something, again, that we come back to. Even if it's hard, it's something we've got to do, because a better marketed product will always beat a good product, 99.9% of the time. I think everyone here is in that category. There's no one here with something that is absolutely different that people are scrambling to get. There's only a couple of cases like that. OpenAI was a good one, where they opened up and then they had their gate. You have to sign up and get in a waiting list. Yeah, very few in that case. Therefore, we need to take this fairly seriously. This is a rough sketch of a regular sales funnel from discovery, consider, decide, purchase. Right, and this is where AI changes that with Performance Max and Advantage Plus. Their advertising will basically find people at different stages. That's how it works. Agencies use this as well. So it's not agency versus AI in a sense. The vast majority are using this. But I'll question, and maybe that's what Mats is getting to as well, I question their value if they're just turning on an Advantage Plus campaign. Anyone can do that. If the interfaces are made a little bit easier, everyone could do it. But this is the change that's happening at the minute. It's not as simple as, do one ad up here for social, let's say, one across different platforms, one for when they decide. That's not needed. Things change. And that's where we're headed. A bit messier, but not bad either. and I know I'm a little bit out of time here. This is all you're doing. I show this a lot of times. You're building a business design, and ads are one part of it, the start of it. And their success will depend on all of it, not just the one part. You're trying to synchronize these things. This is the success of an advertising campaign. It's not about the ad of buying an ad. It's actually what's the answer to these pieces. So you have a campaign designed. So everyone can do this. I just need to spend the time on it and work it out. It can be hard to do. It can be hard to see in our own business. And this is what you're then building: ads, call to action, follow-up, action. Too many just focus here. Ads give me traffic. Now what happened? You know, this is what we build. And you do that from the start. How many customers you get? That's what you measure. The rest doesn't matter. It's hard to see the wood from the trees. We have a lot of overloads. We get distracted by a lot of things. No thank you pages. So it's quite hard. So, but if you start thinking in these terms, life gets a little bit easier. You have traffic to web page, to email, to delivery, to call to action, to sale. That's all it's all about. It's not easy. So we've covered a heck of a lot here, and hopefully flagged some of the challenges, as it were, to make this work, and how you can begin to approach it. That's what we do. Sometimes you can be too close to it. We have the same issue in a lot of things when you're designing a business. You can be so close to the actions yourself that you think you can't see the wood from the trees. So if there's any other questions here, we do have an option, just like we had our email for sales program in the spring. We'll have that later again. We do have an advertising for sales program. If anyone is interested in that to make it work, we start Monday. We actually have a couple lined up already on Monday, and over 3 weeks you work out your program. The big difference here, and we've changed our business quite a bit, it's all one-to-one sessions. We don't do the big groups for this because everyone is different. What your landing page is, what your clients are doing, you need to talk through all of these issues. So it's primarily myself, Kaisa, who will be in all those sessions for support and advice and run through that. That is actually a good deal with 6 of those sessions, £8,000 until Friday. We do expect it to fill up, and it's one-to-one, so we've only got so much time to do it. So anyone's interested in that, you can actually go to the page. I don't know if you have that, Kaisa, or you ping it into the, anyone's interested can sign up for that one, or just reply back to Kaisa. And we do have a free follow-up session to that. So we don't just do a session and then say, good luck. We actually want to see, does it work for you? What do you need? Next time, we have email for sales. It was actually very popular in the autumn. So we will have that in the alumni on February 20th. And the other item I want to show a flag up is the session we'll have with Joseph, who is from VAM, and that's about successful customer outreach. And that will be in the Swedish Ecom Association on Tuesday, the 11th of February. So be all, welcome to join that one. So on that one, this is kind of stuff you need to think about when you're doing your campaign. Even if you're not joining us, we know it's not for everyone. Some will, some won't. Who is it for? The channel you're going for, what you're going to advertise, what are the ads looking like, what's the web page they're going to get to, a landing page, what's the engagement mechanism, how are you going to follow up, and what are you going to measure? They're the things you need to cover. So this is how you do advertising. You have answers to that, and you set that up, and then you have a good chance of at least making something work here. Questions? Are we some here? I know we're just about on time. It's very quick towards the end. I realized I was probably talking too slowly.
No other specific questions. I can imagine the ones that are here listening that you're probably reflecting over now. What does this mean for your business? And if there's anything that comes up, you can always email us afterwards. What we can help you with, as Edward was talking about here, is either if you don't have any advertising today, kind of get you to get that back on track, or if you have advertising but you're not sure how that is working. So we work with both sides, or both, and get you started. Or if you feel you need adjustments, if you need a second pair of eyes to have a look, we can help you with that.
No, exactly. There's a couple of points here so we can make. Keeping control over the account. Yes, it's your account. So if you're doing stuff, let's say with an agency or a third party, it's always your account. It's quite important that the agency or third party doesn't set up an account for your ads that's not yours. It's a basic thing. Any decent agency or person will do this normally. If somebody says, no, it's our account and we just put your ads into it, I wouldn't go there. For the simple reason, if you want to change later, somebody else will take over the account. So it should be your account, and you just give rights to somebody to join it. It's quite easy to do that. It's it's a good point, an important one to raise. What else do we have? Anything here? Yeah, we have the AI thing. I know there were some questions came through, and if I didn't answer them today, I go through the emails that we got in, because there were a couple there about budgets and setting, and I would tend to advise not to spread yourself too thin. Get it working on one platform. So if you think most of your clients are on, let's say, Instagram, focus there, get it working. Don't try and do Instagram, Facebook, and Google at the same time. If you're seasoned, fine, and used to it, but I'd start with one, get it right, get your budget right there. The main consideration is your clients and potential clients are there on the platform. Rough guide is Facebook is pretty good for anyone 40 plus, and they tend to have money, they tend to spend, so it's a good platform for them. For younger people, Instagram is much better, but it's a different dynamic. And this is why some of the micro-influencers are really useful for Instagram. There's a bunch of agencies for that you can work with. But I would do a direct outreach yourself when you're doing your content plan. Search on Google is, if people are searching for you or what you do, then search is a brilliant channel. But it's highly competitive. It can be tricky to make work. Its cost per click, cost per conversions are high. So you need to get them to the right page, and you need to get the right campaign. It's a little bit of a test actually with an agency, is to ask them, how do they handle brand-based search? They should handle it separately. It should be in its own dedicated campaign. It should not be in the shopping campaign, for example. A lot of them people do that. It's either through not knowing or saying, if people are searching for the brand, the shopping is fine. It's not. You're much better off not doing it. Let shopping do its own job. Someone looking for you, you want them just to get to you. And again, best practice here changes. That's who we'll be right now with that. So how you do some of this matters. And these are some of the little questions you have with an agency to see, where are they? How much time do they spend? And actually, do you spend understanding the client need, the who? What's likely to be reasonable for them to engage with? This is where we should spend the time. If you do that right, the creatives get a little bit easier, less pressure on them. We are in a more creative age today than we were, I would say, because we need to stand out. But if we're in front of our target client, they care about themselves and their pains. Are you solving them or not? It gets fairly simple. And that's where you can make that as a good filter. So that's where we go with it. And it makes other parts of the business quite a lot easier. Right, we're 5 over. So
yes,
anything else?
Edward, just going to mention also, obviously we mentioned maybe mainly the Meta platforms and Google, but obviously there are a lot others also that might suit somebody else better, LinkedIn, YouTube, etc. So obviously there's lots. There are the most obvious examples. So that was.
No, it's a good reminder, because YouTube is fantastic as a platform. Second biggest search engine there is. LinkedIn for B2B is fantastic. Direct outreach without advertising. So again, if you're answering the question, what's the engagement mechanism? How many people do we want? That'll begin to dictate. Instead of saying, let's just buy some ads. That's crazy stuff. Let's just buy some ads. Decide what we're doing and then work out. So yeah, good reminder. Brilliant. Listen, thank you. I think a lot of people are still here, but I guess if we stop talking, then they'll be done today. Listen, thank you for joining us today, and we will see you next time. Thank you. Bye now.